Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and in this episode, we're talking about a subject which I think you're going to find really, really valuable because it's all about how to react calmly around people who may provoke you, or they might make you feel a certain way, which kind of rubs you the wrong way, or it makes you feel worried or anxious, or even if you have, say, narcissists or people who just try to put you down. Now, before we get into more of the psychology of the process, it is important to always mention that other people's opinions of you are none of your business. We say that time and time again because it is so important. Other people's opinions, we can take them in, we can understand them, but at the end of the day, it is your mind, and it's really about what your opinion of self is, rather other people's opinions of you as a person. So have that in the forefront of your mind, that this is your mind, and you get to choose how you would like to feel, act, and react. So now let's get into the whole idea of the process within itself. Now, we could do this maybe on another episode, or we could do it a little bit on this episode, but I want to just break down what you have to do. You see, other people who provoke you, we tend to think, well, that person makes me feel provoked. That person makes me feel bad. But if we live by that mentality that other people make us feel certain feelings, we're out of control. We're not able to deal with a situation because we're saying only that person can therefore only stop that, right? And we don't want to live by that narrative that only other people can make us feel things. We want to go, how do I choose to feel these feelings? Like, there's something within me that they've touched upon which has provoked me to feel those feelings. And that's where we get the power back. That's where we get to decide how we would like to feel. So what I would like you to do, if there is a certain person in your life that you feel you would like to choose how you want to feel, react, and just be in a very grounded or strong or powerful state, consider maybe the triggers in the first place. Like, what is the first thing that has to happen from that person that causes you to feel a certain way? Like, I know we said, like, we are the one who's generating. They may be doing something, they may be provoking us, but we want to get that power back. So go ahead and just think about, what is that trigger for you? In other words, it could be something they say, maybe a little jab or a little dig. Is it their tone or their inflection of their voice? Is it the energy they're putting out? Is it when they look at you in a certain way? Because that's important. You see, if we can discover a typical trigger, then we can then start to interrupt that trigger and do something else, right? So number one, just consider the person and then maybe the trigger or triggers that causes you to be able to feel this feeling. And then go ahead and define how you would like to feel differently. Like, you get to choose your feelings today, and you get to choose how your unconscious mind will respond in the future. So for some people, it might be, well, I want to have confidence. Some people, it might be a lower energy state, not in a bad way, but just like a level of peace. Like, I'm just calm. You see, confidence can be a little bit more energetic. But this is where you get to choose. You get to choose any state that you want, or any amount of states that you would like to feel. Because we're going to pre-teach the unconscious mind how you can do this to make a change. Because at the end of the day, everything is an association. How you associate that person's voice, how you associate how they look, or when they look at you in a certain way. All of those things are these internal unconscious associations, and that's why we want to know about that trigger in the first place. Because when you start to think about that trigger, you may then bring to your mind maybe a picture in your mind of that trigger. whether it be a sound, a feeling, a thought, an image, it's probably going to be a combination of all of those. But just notice how you associate to that person who is provoking you in a certain way. Notice how you hold that image in your mind. There's going to be maybe a certain color, it's going to be a certain size, it's going to be a certain symbolic representation, it's going to give you maybe certain feelings on the inside, but just notice those subtle differences of how you associate them in your mind. Once again, everything is an association. And then what I want you to go ahead and do is start to change that association. For example, if you associate that person and it's like in the right up close in your mind when you think about it, go ahead and just start to move that internal association, that picture, further and further away and smaller and smaller and smaller. Notice if that changes any feelings that you have. Maybe if it was colorful, you go ahead and turn down the colors a little bit. Maybe even make the whole association of them black and white. Notice if that causes you to feel less feelings of being provoked. All we're doing is changing your inner association. And what we're doing also is, because it's unconscious, you're getting your unconscious mind to see them differently. Now, you could go really extreme with this, because maybe they say a certain thing and they have a certain tone. Maybe it's a stern tone or a making fun of you tone. So go ahead and then just change that voice. How would that voice be for you? Maybe
you would just go ahead and get them to speak like this. So just in your mind, notice how you can just change that dialogue.
And make it as funny as you would like. You may even want to change how they are, maybe shrinking them down to a small person and then
speaking in that funny voice, even that it's humorous.
So go ahead and just play around with their voice, their representation. Maybe making them, like I said, dress funny, smaller, change the voice, change the colors, make it black and white, make it extravagant, whatever it is for you. And even you may want to feel a bit of humor. So every time you hear that voice on the inside,
there's a little feeling on the inside which just starts to make you laugh a little bit.
Whatever it is for you, because you'll know. And the more you start to think of that person in this way, we're saying that every time that person says that, your unconscious mind will start to subtly change that association. Not that we want to make fun of them in a certain way, but really to dismiss the old ways of doing, because now we're starting to balance it out. So you get to choose once again. All I want you to do is, once again, fully break it down, consider the past and consider the triggers. How do you know when it's time to feel bad or to feel a certain feeling? And then notice your internal representation of that person. How you associate in colors, in sounds, and in feelings. And then if you start to change the meaning, you start to change the association. So just rehearse that again, right? Remember the trigger. Notice the representation. Now make it, if it comes right up real big, make it real small and farther away. Turn down the colors. Add things to it. Add maybe different music to that situation. Like kind of circus music if you wanted. Whatever it is, you get to choose. And then your unconscious mind will remember that. And even a subtle suggestion to your unconscious mind, you can remember this. Every time that person tries to provoke you, you gain the power back. And let's add to this a little bit more. So when you change everything there, what I want you to do is notice some of those feelings that we said of how you would like to feel. And as much as possible, remember times when you felt that feeling of peace or confidence. Notice where it lives in the body, and then just allow that to get bigger and bolder and radiate it around you, almost like you're radiating out that feeling to that association. And that means your unconscious mind can remember that feeling too. For some people, you might even squeeze your finger and your thumb together, and that means we get that unconscious remembering on a kinesthetic level, and that means every time you squeeze your finger and thumb, your brain starts to remember it. So feel the good feelings and squeeze the finger and thumb together. Feel those empowering feelings and squeeze the finger and thumb together. And you may notice if you do that a few times, we call this anchoring, that your body, your neurology, like Pavlov's dogs, it remembers that feeling and state. So change the association, you will change the meaning of how you feel. Changing the meaning of the association will change your reaction to it. So I hope you got value from this. And here's the other thing, practice it. Rehearse it. Rehearse it in a way that makes it a little bit silly or a little bit calm, a little bit funny, whatever it is for you, of future scenarios. And if you can do that about 7 to 10 times, we are pre-teaching the unconscious mind that every time whatever that trigger is, you now feel differently. That is where you gain control. So I hope you got value from this episode, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future one. Many thanks and goodbye.